doing a two-part gear review, going over a couple of rifles that I get a lot of questions about, and they're both really similar to each other. The main difference is going to be the caliber and the optic setup. Okay, so the first one here is going to be the base rifle is an Arsenal SLR107FR. So it has the folding 100 series rear trunnion, and it had the side scope rail installed on it from the factory. And then what I did was I had it the front end converted to 14.5 inches utilizing the JMAC GBC 13 gas block front sight combo and the JMAC Customs RRD 4C. And what this particular one does is it's chemo compatible, and you cut your barrel right at 14.5 inches. And this actually sleeves over your barrel slightly and then gives you an overall length of just over 16 inches. And that gives you a little bit extra barrel length, so you're going to get a little bit better velocity and ballistics out of that round and still keep it at that 14 or that 16 inch overall length. So 14.5 front end. And starting from the back, I have a JMAC Customs SM 4.5 rear folding adapter using their ST6 skeletonized tube, and that allows me to throw on a Magpul CTR stock, which locks up super solid on this ST6, and it has the built-in anti-rotational QD slots on there. And then as we move forward, you can see here that optics wise, I have a Saberwerks KOP mounting system, and as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the most solid optics mounts that you can get on your AK. And what that is basically it replaces your rear sight base completely. It requires gunsmithing, so they need to press that off, press the KOP system on, and they actually pin it to your rifle. So that thing is not going anywhere. That's actually pinned to the rifle itself, not coming off. Now that's this lower base right here. The upper portion here, you can swap it out, and you're gonna see on my other rifle I have a different upper on there, but this is just their full length rail that I have on here, and that allows me to put that EOTech a little bit further back on the rail, and that's an EOTech XPS 2-0. It's just got that donut of death on there and the 1 center dot. Now, as far as the magnifier is concerned, anytime I can have the ability to use a magnified optic, I like to have that option. Now, the cool thing about this is obviously it's a EOTech G33 on their mount there. So when not in use, it just slides right out of the way. No big deal. And I can use that EOTech XPS like a normal red dot. And then when I need magnification, I need to sit a little bit further, identify targets further, I can just flip it into place. And if I don't need this on here, I can just take this mount off completely. And the way I have that set up is utilizing an AK master mount rear biased side scope rail. So that just slides right on and off of the factory scope rail and allows me to attach that EOTech magnifier. And you can see that the height between the two is perfect. So that 7.62x39 round, a lot heavier than a 5.56 round. You're talking 122, 123, 124 grains, regardless, whatever you're running at the time. But the trajectory is not as flat as 5.56, so holdovers are going to become more of a thing at distance. So I'm typically utilizing this rifle more so 300 yards in, and although it is capable of 400 and 500 yards, it really shines in that 0 to 300 range. And this magnifier is really all I need personally to be able to identify threats out at 300 or so yards. So it's a really good setup for that, and it works very well for me within those parameters. Moving forward, let's see. I have the bad trigger, and it's a great military style feel trigger. Not super light, not super heavy, just crisp, and it's exactly what you need, and it goes off when you want it to. This thing's kind of like a Tapco G2 that you've taken home, worked on it, shaved it down like everyone did, and smoothed it on up. It's like that from the factory. It's a great trigger, and I'm really happy with it so far. I have it on both of these AKs, as you're about to see. So moving forward from that, the optic setup, The rail is a SLR Rifleworks 11.5-inch ion light rail. And the cool thing about these rails is they clamp back onto your barrel back here. So theoretically, nothing up front is touching. I still have my my handguard retainer on here, but it has a cutout for it, so it doesn't actually touch the handguard itself. And as far as heat goes, this handguard is awesome as far as the heat dissipation. I can run this without a glove. It's not a huge deal. Really, the only issue as far as heat goes is that handguard retainer that's sticking out. So what I'll probably do next time I have the opportunity is I'm going to remove that handguard retainer so I can just run that SLR Rifleworks rail because it works great. This upper rail, also part of the SLR Rifleworks system. And if you look at my lighting setup, I have a BCM M-Lock Scout light mount. And on there, I have a Streamlight ProTac rail mount 2. So this is the 2 CR123 model, so it's a little bit longer than the 1. Works really good. It's there when I need it. Momentary and constant on using that Streamlight pressure pad, which is mounted to a Cloud Defensive LCS Mark II switch holder there. All right, so if you look on the other side here, I have a BCM QD mount there for the sling. And what I like about these BCMs is the insert is steel. It's not aluminum like some of the other ones, because that aluminum can wear out over time. And as you're running around with your rifle, that QD socket can just pop right out, and that would be not very good. So looking at the rail accessory here, this is a JMAC Customs HRD EXT. So this is the extended model of their HRD. So you can see here it has this additional portion up here in front, and that works really good as a standoff against barricades or shooting against other barriers or anything like that, and allows you to run the rifle in a couple different ways. Typically, I'm running it just like so, with 2 fingers in front of the HRD EXT. But if you want to get a little bit more aggressive on there, you can run that index finger right up front there, and that's going to give you a little bit more leverage over the front end of that gun. So it gives you a couple different options, and fits really well in that SLR Rifleworks rail. As far as grips go, I'm running the Tango Down Battle Grip. I really like this grip, and I run it on the majority of my AKs that aren't running just standard AKM grips. And it has kind of got this profile in the back here, and that allows you to support the rifle a lot better with your hand. Even one-handed, it allows me to be able to hold it up and really have a good control of that rifle. And it's a little wider on the bottom, which causes your hand to want to stay up where it needs to be and have a positive grip on that rifle. So that's the SLR107FR. Now I'm going to grab this. It's kissing cousin right here. This is the Arsenal SLR106F. All right, so the previous rifle is a 7.62 by 39. The 106F is 5.56 by 45. So this is a 106F, meaning that it did not come with the side scope rail, but I did have one installed, but I'm not currently using it. But it is the 106F model, and for the most part, it is exactly the same as that 106 or that 107 setup. So 14.5 front end. This one is actually cut a little bit longer than 14.5. That was just a slight error on the gunsmith that cut it. He cut it, I think it's at 15. It's only about a ½ inch longer. Not a big deal. But you'll notice it's slightly longer than the front end on that 107. All right, but everything exactly the same in every way, other than the base rifle and the caliber. So the main difference you're going to notice is the optics that I'm running on this rifle. So I'm still running the Saberwerks KOP, but the upper portion I'm running is 30mm mounts to install a 30mm scope. All right, and the scope that I'm running on this is a Primary Arms KISS 1-6. All right, so it utilizes their KISS reticle, which is a really simple reticle, and I really like it. It kind of has your offset built in. If you're engaging targets up close, you can use that entire big chevron as your aiming point. And then as you get further out, the tip of that chevron is going to be your point of aim at further distances. So I have it zeroed at 100 yards. So the tip of that chevron is at 100. And then I have my holdovers in mils from there. So regardless of what rifle you put this on, you're going to be able to utilize that reticle. So I'm a big fan of it. So out here in Arizona, a lot of the competitions and shooting, things like that, are done at further ranges. So a lot of times there's targets out to 500 yards, and with 5.56, 500 yards is no issue. So this is a really good combination for me to utilize for that. So I can engage threats no problem out to 500 or even 600 yards. That's about as far as I've pushed this rifle, and it has no issue with that. All right, and then from there, I have mounted on a LaRue RMR offset mount, which is actually compatible with the KOP system. I have a Holosun 407, and that's just a little red dot. All right, and the reason I'm running two optics here is because you get a lot of questions: what's better, a low power variable optic or a red dot? Well, the best option, in my opinion, is both. It doesn't add a whole lot of weight to your setup, and it gives you the ability to run this on a higher power. Let's say it's on 6x, and quickly switch between 6x magnification and 1x with that red dot without having to manipulate your actual optic, your scope. Now, you can accomplish that same thing utilizing a low power variable optic. That's the whole point of it, being 1 to 6x or whatever it may be. But having the ability to just turn your rifle slightly and get on that red dot without having to make any adjustment at all is really nice to have. Now, being a red dot, there's no requirement for eye relief. So regardless of the sight picture you have, you're going to be able to make that shot. We're utilizing a low power variable optic. You have to have that proper eye relief on that scope to get a good sight picture to engage your threat. So shooting in awkward positions around barricades and things like that, this red dot comes in handy quite a bit. The only thing to keep in mind is it does sit a lot higher. So your holdovers is something that you're going to have to keep in mind. But I like this setup a lot, and usually if I'm running like a serious competition, this is the rifle you're going to see me running. Very reliable, no issues with it, and I'm really happy with both of these setups. So there you go. There is a gear overview of my two SLR107FR and 7.62x39 and the SLR106F and 5.56x45. Two great rifles that complement each other a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to post down below. I'd be happy to answer, and thanks for watching the video.